Review for the Dark Half, directed by George Romero and based on a Stephen King book. So this came out in 1993. And it stars Timothy Hutton, Amy Madigan, and the premise is a writer's fictional alter ego wants to take over his life at any price. And that pretty much sums it up. I thought it was a good movie, not great. I have some problems with it that I'll get into, but pretty entertaining movie. It's a good idea for a book. I haven't read the book, but makes a decent film. Directed by George Romero, so they at least got a good director. And if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It really helps with the channel. So here we go. So Romero wrote the script. It says with Stephen King, I think. And it's a pretty enjoyable movie. So basically, he, as in the womb, he basically absorbs another, like a twin. And then later on, when he's like, 8 or 9 or something, he gets these headaches. And he keeps having them. He's like having seizures. And then finally the doctors look into it, and he has like an eye in the top of underneath his skull and his brain, like an eye and some other material from another child. And even the tooth. And that was a nice little touch. One of the doctors is like, it's like the tooth even has a cavity, which is just weird. It's kind of creepy. So they remove it and they actually bury it. And then years later, he's a somewhat successful writer, but he has this alter ego where he writes these kind of like pulpy, trashy novels about this character who, is a big drinker, smoker, like a womanizer, like very confident but like very mean guy. And he says it's kind of like he admires him in some ways because he's not like that. And this guy comes to him, and he teaches at a university for writing. And this guy comes to him and says, "Hey, I know this other writer is you, and you write these like trashy novels. And if you don't pay me a bunch of money, then I'm gonna go to the press, and this will ruin your legitimate writing career." Because he also has a legitimate writing career. It's not nearly as successful. So he thinks that he says, "Okay, I'll pay you." When he thinks it over, he just goes public with his wife and says George Stark, who's the writer of the trashy novels, is me, and I'm going to stop writing them. And they even have a fake burial ceremony and everything on the family plot. And what this does, though, is it somehow births that character. He even crawls out of the grave because his parents buried like the eye and the tooth and everything they took out of his brain, buried it in the ground. And somehow it's birthed. And then this guy's going around killing people, basically framing him. He has his fingerprints, like he kills the guy that was a photographer for the burial ceremony. I think he worked for People magazine, and he's killing him. He kills the writer of the article from People, and basically everyone thinks that it's Timothy Hutton doing it. Good actor Michael Rooker is in this, or Rucker, and he is the sheriff, and he suspects that Timothy Hutton is killing people. That's kind of a negative of the movie, I'd say, because he has the fingerprints, you know, in blood. I mean, like people saw him. It was the alter ego, but people think it's Timothy Hutton, and he doesn't arrest him or anything. He just kind of is like, well, I'm gonna keep watching you, and you know, I'm very suspicious of you, but he doesn't really do anything. So I don't know. I thought that was like incompetent. Like he'd probably lose his job, probably get sued. I don't even know, but I don't know. I thought that was kind of a negative, but I do like the movie. Um, I thought it was interesting on the poster, like this poster here that's up here. Like, is it just me or does he kind of look like Ted Bundy? Like I swear, like he looks just like Ted Bundy in that poster. And maybe that's what they're going for. It's like I mean, he does kill a bunch of people. He's basically like a serial killer. And then you know, then the rest of the movie progresses, continues to kill people, setting up Timothy Hutton. Timothy Hutton is trying to prove his innocence, and in the end, he then goes after his family. He has a wife and two little kids. He even goes after them because the other half of him is his like face is falling apart, so he's like slowly dying, and he wants to basically absorb him and take over his life. And that's pretty much the setup for the movie. Um, so I guess The Dark Half was the last novel that Stephen King wrote before becoming completely sober. His addiction and his desire to go sober are reflected in the book's themes of dual personalities. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how Stephen King seems to like use his writing as like therapy sessions for himself. Because The Shining is similar too. I mean, I haven't read it, but I've heard him talk about it, and you know, he was doing a bunch of drugs when he was writing these books, drinking a lot. I don't know. He's saying that he had some very dark thoughts about hurting people, and I don't really get it. I mean, he's a super successful writer, and he, I don't know. In some of these stories, it seems like he wants to like hurt his family. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it seems like these books are kind of therapy sessions for him. So this is the last one before he went totally sober, I guess. I guess he would have directed um Maximum Overdrive before this, because I'm pretty sure he was wasted when he was making that too. So, according to writer and director George A. Romero, Timothy Hutton was quite difficult to work with at times. Hutton even quit the film for a few days during the production. According to Stephen King, the story of the film was part autobiographical, as it was inspired by the events that led to him revealing his own writing pseudonym of Richard Bachman. Right. Yeah, similar to this guy, he had a pseudonym. Um, yeah, I won't go through the whole plot and everything, but it's kind of interesting too when this character, his alter ego, is gaining power, and when they actually remove the eye and stuff from his head, there's like all these birds that are flying everywhere outside. And then at the end of the movie, I thought that was pretty cool. Spoilers, when he defeats his alter ego. Um when he defeats his alter ego, all these birds break into his house, and there's this huge storm and these birds, and they pick the alter ego apart, like one, like just pick by pick, and I thought that was pretty good practical effects actually. So some definitely Romero, some nice Romero practical effects. Wonder who the guy is that did it. Probably someone he worked with on the Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that. But um, so yeah, at the very end of the film, and the birds are like picking him apart and ripping his flesh off. I thought that was like brutal. Um, so I enjoyed it, but like I said, like I love Michael Rooker, but he's like a terrible sheriff in this. I mean, he would definitely be in jail, and then maybe he would find out later what's going on, but he'd definitely be in jail. I mean, one of the crime scenes has blood all over this truck and the inside. He has fingerprints because he has the same fingerprints as his alter ego, and he has fingerprints, and they're his. There was a he killed the guy near a gas station. The guy that works at the gas station saw Timothy Hutton, but it's actually his alter ego. But um, but yeah, he'd definitely be in jail. And then there's other times where he had fingerprints, and people saw him just like that, just like the first time he killed someone, and he's not in jail. I just thought that was ridiculous, but um oh, the character of Sheriff Allen and Deputy Norris appeared later the same year in Needful Things, played by Ed Harris and Ray McKinnon, respectively. Harris is also Amy. Oh, Harris is also Amy Magdon's husband in real life. Oh, he's married to her. Oh, wow. Yeah, she's in Uncle Buck, Field of Dreams, Streets of Fire, Gone Baby Gone. Oh, I didn't know that. I'd say Needful Things. I think is better than this, but I mean it's an enjoyable movie. It's another Romero movie. I think is solid. It was shot in 1991, but wasn't released until 93 because of financial problems with Orion Pictures. It's mostly shot in Pittsburgh, although I think it takes place in Maine. That's it. George Stark. The car George Stark is driving is a 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. Oh, I thought it was a Lincoln. That's a cool car. I've never even seen that car before. Very cool car. Like it's a coupe, black coupe, dual exhaust. Like I probably has a huge V8 in it. I've never seen that car before. I was like, wow, that is a really cool car. John Hurt was considered for the role. So the film takes place between 1968 and 1981. Um, yeah, Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. I'd probably give it like 2.5, but yeah, I think it's flawed, but it's enjoyable. So yeah, I think his main problem is he says, "I'd like to know more about the evil twin. Is he a figment of Thad's imagination, some kind of psychic projection?" Well, he's not a psychic projection though, because he literally crawls out of the grave. It's like him wanting to kill the character and the writer then makes him crawl out of the grave to kind of save himself and then take over the life of the actual writer. But yeah, I would like to know more about that process. But I don't know, maybe if you explain it, it just kind of ruins it. So, because yeah, at first I was like, um is he kind of because is he kind of just blacking out and then doing it himself? But then later he's like, with his wife the whole night, and someone dies like you know in a different city, miles away. So is he a figment of Thad's imagination, some kind of psychic projection? Did he grow like a tree out of the bits of tissue buried in the old family plot? I think that's it. Is he an imposter? Can he read Thad's mind? Did he have a childhood? Is that the original I? There are 3 or 4 inconclusive half-baked suggestions dropped here and there in the movie, as if the authors themselves were sorting out the possibilities. But by the last half hour, the movie's essentially no different than if the eyeball had never blinked. The twin had never been discussed, and Thad was simply being persecuted by a routine mad slasher. Too bad. That means that in the end essentially comes down to a hackneyed fight to the finish when a resolution of the weird premise would have been much more interesting. Another disappointment is that so little is done with the George Stark character, who was played by Timothy Hutton, in a dual role that allows him to definitely shed his nice guy image. Isn't there something wonderfully macabre or darkly funny anyway about a creature who starts life as an unfinished embryo, ends up as a mad slasher, and would really rather be writing Pulp Fiction? Yeah, and the alter ego also, I thought it was funny. He kind of looks like, I mean, it's Timothy Hutton, but he has like some makeup on. The makeup is, it's not amazing, but it works, I guess. Um, he kind of looks like Bruce Campbell, actually. In fact, maybe Bruce Campbell should have played this role. I don't know. I mean, Timothy Hutton's good, but I don't know. I think I could see Bruce Campbell in this role, because he kind of looks like Bruce Campbell. Like it is, a little bit acts like him, a little bit, maybe like the confidence and stuff. But I just thought that was funny. Um, Another thing about this movie is if you see the movie *Malignant* by James Wan, that's definitely influenced by this. Because I saw that a few years ago and I loved that. I think that's a better movie than this, but it's undeniable that it kind of ripped this off. I mean, spoilers for *Malignant*, I guess. Oh well, but it kind of ripped it off a little, but it's still different enough. Um, but yeah, I would agree with Ebert there. I mean, I think you could have delved into that a little more, but I don't know. Maybe if you explained it more, it would ruin it. I mean, why is there like why is it connected to birds, kind of? And when some of these things are happening, there's like a storm of birds. There's like tons of birds outside of the house. They break into the house. They're all over the place. Like, why? But, um, but yeah, that's about it. I like the movie. It's not amazing, but overall, I'd say check it out. The Dark Half, George Romero, Stephen King. So that's about it, though, and I'll see you next time.